Yet again, my friend, black youth start a new trend. What up, y'all? For those you don't know, there's a new movement going around, new fashion statement made by the black youth, and it's called the quarter zip movement. That's where these youngsters, these young men are getting vests and zip up, them quarter zip cotton vest or whatever shirts with a necktie or a nice shirt underneath. And what it is, it's the young folks, cleaning it up. And so what I want to do is talk about it. You see old white men and Asians and people around the on TikTok now taking over the trend like always. But you also see people talking about, you know, uh, it changing the perception of black people in America. And that's where I want to say, okay, now, hold your horses, hold your horses, hold your horses. I'm not about to put that expectation on the youth. Black people, our perception exists no matter how we dress. When we were getting lynched, we were wearing suits. Niggas was getting lynched with neckties on. Think about that for a moment before you go around putting this heavy burden on our young men to change the perception of us as a whole. So what we gonna do today is talk about it. I'm gonna talk about what this is because y'all know on this show I like to highlight, the culture and what's going on in our culture in real time and document our culture in real time because it's not about going back in history 100 years ago all the time. The only reason why we can go back, people like me who research, the only reason why we can go back 100 years ago, 200 years ago, was because there were people at that time documenting what was going on at that time. So we want to make sure we put this historical perspective into the annals of another trend that on how black youth move and operate. You dig? And the magic that they have. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get started in about 1 minute. I'll be right back.
We don't do Nike Tech. We don't do coffee. There's straight quarter zips and marches around. He was talking about putting on a Nike Tech to come outside. I told him, what are you doing? You upgraded in like, we don't.
All right, we back. Let's talk about this. We're not gonna be here all day. We're not gonna be here all day, but I do want to talk about it while we're here today at this time. This new trend, the quarter zip movement. And this is what all y'all been saying. If black kids just pull their pants up, everything gonna change. So everybody's been saying if they just if the youth just pull their pants up, let's see. Let's watch. We have a case study that we're entering right now. This trend has been going on for a couple weeks now. So we're at the beginning of this trend. So for between now and the summer, or now and this time next year, we'll have data on the perception and the treatment of black youth based on how they dress. So now I'm going to call to the carpet all of the black folks that have been saying, well, if you just pull the pants up, you've been saying that now for 30, 40 years. Now we're about to find out. Were you right? Were you wrong? Or was it somewhere in the middle? So let's break this down. What is the quarter zip movement? And let's go on over here to TikTok so you guys can see what it is. Oh shit. I got my music class going right there. Here we go. Let's go look. This is it.
We don't do Nike Tech. We don't do coffee. There's straight quarter zips and matches around here. He was talking about putting on a Nike Tech to come outside. I told him, what do you?
These little niggas
We don't
is funny.
do Nike Tech.
Hey, I don't know about y'all, dog, but I love observing black youth. Them youngsters is funny as fuck, dog. These little niggas is funny, dog. But as you see, after we do it,
Damn, did you look very own money? So like, hey, yo, dude, yeah. I'm a man and everything, but like, you look super handsome and shit. It, bro. But like, where'd you get that shit?
This shit?
Yeah.
Oh, because you know what I'm talking about?
Rolenzo, I see that.
$70 for one, yeah.
$70? You know you could have gotten 2 courses for less than $70? Two.
You gotta show me right now.
Here, bro, try this on.
Alright, man.
What you think, man?
I'm not gonna lie, bro. These are mad coats. Look, they're one from the inside. The zipper, I like about it. Quarter zips. The outfit goes hard.
You look super good, bro. Hey, you
so, you know, after we do it,
Damn, did you look very own money?
you know, this is...
I'm so tired. Damn, did you...
You see how you know how it goes. You know how it goes. And look at TikTok. Look at who TikTok is pushing. This is one of the videos that got it all started.
And it's gotten so bad. People are doing meetups.
No. Where is the deal?
Guess I was just another pit stop till you made up your...
And to all the black people saying that we need to stop with this quarter zip stuff because we're just trying to look white and we're just playing into white supremacy and all that. Huh? Do you not know your history? You clearly don't. Because our history is rich. We've been dressing like this. This ain't new to us. Go look up old school photos of how we used to dress just walking the streets.
That's right, young man. I love seeing these young cats, dog. Like, man, I got so much love for y'all little niggas under 30. Y'all don't even know. I got love for everybody. But I got a special love in my heart for the young cats under 30. I really do.
You may have thought that I got this jacket off like Macy's or Dillard's or something. No, I got it off TikTok Shop. And guess what? They're on clearance right now.
Hell, I might start doing quarter zip Black American Family Trees t-shirts. I mean, hell, I might put that in the merch shop. Quarter zip band family trees. But yeah, so
Nike Tech. We don't do.
Then you got niggas imitate. You know, niggas gonna nig.
Matches around here. He was talking about putting on a Nike Tech to come outside. I told him, what are you doing? You upgraded in like. We don't.
Niggas gonna nig, man. That shit funny, dog. And you see on the website Bro Bible, this was a couple days ago. They're talking about you know, let's see what this said. What is it called if you're wearing a full zip jacket? A fashion trend sweeping through TikTok as young men trading their Nike Techs and hoodies for a more polished look, and the people are taking notice. The so-called quarter zip movement has sparked millions of views and enthusiastic praise from creators who say it represents more than just a wardrobe upgrade. And let's see here. Let's see which video they're talking about, this viral video. She said men earn 10% of their respect back while she got a nose ring and an eye ring. But I sit that to the side. But it's still talking about, you know, the respectability look that it's bringing back. And it's breaking down, you know, the whole situation. Somebody saying I'm frozen. That must just be over on Twitter. If I'm frozen, hop on over to YouTube. YouTube is where it's at anyway. And so in here, it says it's not just a sweater because a lot of them are switching the quarter zips. So there's pressure from other men to dress nicer. And then it comes also with the new attitude of, I'm going to make my life better. You know what I see? And I see here's some other psychology, the enthusiasm. Well, I'm going to read some more of this, and then I'll break down my opinion. The enthusiasm around the quarter zip movement isn't just about aesthetics. There's real science backing the idea that clothing choices can transform mindset and behavior. Research on enclosed cognition has shown that what people wear influences their psychological process, according to the Bubble. A 2012 study found that participants wearing lab coats perform better at attention-related tasks with performance, even improving more with the coat when described as a doctor's coat rather than a painter's coat. The confidence boost from dressing well isn't just perception. Studies have found that 96% of women interviewed said their confidence was affected by what they wear, while research shows students wearing Superman t-shirts felt more confident and physically stronger. This suggests clothing choices directly influence performance and self-perception. This is all true. So it goes in and talk more about it and about the psychology behind clothing and how this can affect everything. And, you know, and I roll with that, you know, because there is most definitely a psychology behind clothing. Neckties are phallic symbols. That's why neckties are usually worn in business. And to indicate, that's why men wear neckties. That's why even when women try to dress trendy and they wear a necktie, they always look silly. Neckties are phallic symbols. And that's why America chooses to project as leadership. And there's a whole psychology behind suits. All that's very true. Now, here's my caution. I have a caution. All right? And this is it. Yes, clothing does change how you move. How you dress is going to change how you operate. It does. It has an effect on it. That's why, like, even on stage, I had to learn over the years. And I know now if I'm going to do a certain style show, you know, you got to wear certain colors, red, things that pop. Stuff that I would never wear walking around. If it's a bigger show, you wear that on stage because there's a big difference between wearing that on stage and wearing a t-shirt and jeans. I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of nigga. So I'm really a t-shirt and sweats kind of nigga, honestly. And I wear jeans. But I know that I come up with a full awareness of what that does perception-wise. You know what I mean? And when I want to go to a different environment, I know that there's a different ways you got to dress to be taken different ways. You know? And all this is true. But let me tell you what's more true. How you carry yourself and the energy you project. The energy you have inside of you and the confidence wherewithal within inside of you, that protects more than clothes. Okay? You cannot, the surface level definitely means something. But what you have underneath that surface level is what matters the most. Okay? And oftentimes we get that thing confused. You know what I mean? People get that confused. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Where is it? 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 Oh, it's not working. Okay, I can't give you that example. This shit ain't working. Anyway, that example I can't give you yet. This shit ain't working. But I'm gonna move on and do something different. Perception. Let me break it down. What I mean by this when I'm talking about perception. The clothes get you to a certain point. And it does work on people's subconscious, instinctful levels. But you got to understand that's the reason why we have propaganda. And propaganda is everything put on top of what's going on subconsciously, what's going on instinctively. And when people are trained to hate you, when you're trained to hate yourself, how you dress don't make a difference. Okay? They were still getting in bar fights in the 40s. There's a song, let me see. What's the name of that song? There's a song by Memphis Slim. Back in the 40s. It was a song by Memphis Slim, and I can't think of the name of the song. But Memphis Slim has a whole song about started getting in bar fights. And we're talking about the 1940s. And these cats was wearing suits. But he has a whole song talking about going into the bar to get drunk just to start a bar fight. That's an old, I just can't think of the name of the song right now, but it's an old Memphis Slim song. People got lynched wearing suits. And there's a song by Muddy Waters called I'm Ready. And in that song, I'm Ready by Muddy Waters, that whole song's about getting in a fight that night. And let's go even deeper. I don't even have to go back that far. Do you know what? How far we got to go back, y'all? The 90s. Now, back in the 90s and the mid 90s, we weren't on the internet, so I don't know how y'all was dressing down south. I don't know how y'all was dressing in New York at the time, other than what I saw on music videos. But I can tell you how we was dressed in LA. The home of so-called gangster rap and gangs. When you saw Tupac dressing like this wasn't Tupac setting a trend. When you get to about 93, 94, this is how we were dressing. 92, 93, that's when the Hilfiger trend came in. We was wearing Polo, Nautica, Tommy Hilfiger. I put up this picture from my high school. This is what I was going through one of my high school Facebook pages, Westchester High, and I pulled up this picture. I'm not in this one, but these are my people from Westchester. Rest in peace, Charles Drake. That's Charles Drake right there in the middle down. He played at football at Michigan. Rest in peace. But these are cats on my football team. This is how we was dressing. You know, pullovers, button downs. This is how we was dressing in the late 90s. And guess what? We were still getting treated like niggas. See, no, this is after Carl Kanai. See, Carl Kanai was cross colors, Carl Kanai, 91, 92, 93. We was like really the Carl Kanai, baggy, you know, loud color clothes. What happened was after cross colors, Carl Kanai, those were like loud. Niggas shifted into polo. Not talking about like 95, 96. Polo, heel figure. You know, we was wearing the button downs. Cats was tucking their shirts in. Niggas in LA was putting on glasses without prescriptions. This is really how we was dressing in LA, 94 into 95. All the 60s niggas was dressing like this. Tupac got this from how niggas on the streets was dressing, not the other way around. I remember because I went to my school had nothing but 60s in it, middle school and high school. And this is how them 60s niggas dressed. And the preppy look had come in. Cats weren't sagging. Cats had pulling their pants up. And guess what? Niggas was still getting their ass beat by the police. Niggas still wasn't getting hired. This is how black LA was dressing in 96. Do you know what happened in 1996? Do y'all know what happened in California in 1996? The passage of Prop 209. What was the passage of Prop 209? That was when they ended affirmative action. See, people from around the country, y'all just lost y'all affirmative action in the last couple of years. I got great chinny chin chins. I've never had affirmative action. I had to go, my college was non-affirmative action, no affirmative action. That's why I couldn't get a job. That's why I had to fucking start running a business. Because the college degree didn't mean shit. We didn't have no affirmative action. But that happened during the era niggas was dressing business casual. You think they gave a fuck? You think they said, oh, these black people are now dressing, look at even the 60s and the Crenshaw Mafia is wearing Dockers and Timberlands. I remember all through high school, 9th grade through like, I only wore sneakers, tennis shoes to hoop. All I wore in middle school and high school was Timberlands, deck shoes, and shoes like that. Tim's and deck shoes is what I wore in high school. And I only wore tennis shoes to hoop in. I kept a pair of shoes in my locker, and I always kept a pair of basketball shorts on under my Dockers. That's how we dressed. We wore Dockers and button downs. But I always had a pair of basketball shorts on under my Dockers. And I always had some shoes in my bag. I used to hoop like a motherfucker in high school. Like, what? What? Oh, yeah, take this off real quick. Got a t-shirt on under. Got my basketball shorts on under my Dockers. And my shoes in my bag. Nigga, let's go. And we would sit our Dockers in Overripe Middle School, Westchester High School. Niggas, you went to the basketball court. Niggas had their Dockers on top of their bag. Now, if you had a Hilfiger jacket, nigga, you better put that shit in your locker. See, nigga, they run off with your shit. Niggas will steal your Hilfiger and your polo, your Nautica. So if you had a Hilfiger or polo or Nautica jacket, nigga, take that shit to the locker. Hold on, I'm put my Hilfiger jacket in my locker. Boom. Put my Dockers be right there, and we be hooping in basket. Nigga, nah, fuck that. 10th grade, I wasn't even I wasn't even putting my tennis shoes on. I was hooping in Tim's. I didn't start putting the tennis shoes in after I got out of high school. Like 8th grade, Overripe Middle School, shit. Nigga, we was hooping in Tim's. I hooped every day at school in Tim's. Basketball shorts, Tim's, and a t-shirt. And then I'll beat your ass in basketball, put my Dockers back on over my basketball shorts, go get my shirt, my Hilfiger jacket out the locker, and stop talking shit in class tomorrow. And when we in class tomorrow, I'm telling everybody I whooped your ass on that court. In Tim's. Holla if you hear me, chat room. We used to hoop in Tim's, nigga. So I brought that up just to say that, look, man, we ain't about to put that pressure on these youth to change their perception. At the end of the day, black people looked at how we looked at because we have evil people that propagandize us. That's why. It ain't because of what we do. It ain't because of how we dress. It ain't none of that. We get negatively propagandized every single day. And the worst images of our society get pushed to the front. Nobody on the news back in 1997 was saying, hey, look at these black people dressing like this. They're getting rid of the hood attire. No. We was still niggas. We was dressing like, I'm gonna tell you part of the reason why we dressing like that. And again, salute to the chat room, Natural Immunity, Black McBain, everybody up in here. For some reason, y'all names ain't showing up right on my end. I don't know why. But I'm getting y'all, I'm not getting y'all normal names in the chat. So excuse me if I don't recognize who you are. Landon Daniel says lynching victims have suits and ties. Right. Real talk. Real talk. So, but if I'm not seeing y'all in the chat, it's giving me some wonky shit. I see Great Black Shark because I know that thumbnail anywhere. But anyway, we got to understand that the reason why my channel exists is to always give a context of what's going on, and through the music, talk about the great contributions and the great additions to life that we bring, because the only way to go back at negative propaganda is with positive propaganda. We ain't here to fight them all day. We just here to speak our truth. Landon said, couldn't do Tim's, but you had the black Carl Kanais. Yeah. So let's go into why. Oh, what's up, Aaron? Crazy Aaron. We went to elementary together, but he went off to Palisades High School. His high school got burned down a couple. My bad, Aaron. My bad. I don't mean to clown you, Aaron. But Aaron went off to Palisades. I went to Westchester. We was rival schools. Well, we both was from the Crenshaw district. We was both from the Crenshaw district, but our home school was Dorsey High. And we both said, hell no. I grew up on Chesapeake, right across the street from Dorsey. So by the time I was 9, I done seen 3 niggas get shot in front of Dorsey High. You think I was gonna go to Dorsey? Fuck and no. Mama sent me to Westchester. And Aaron went to Pally. Like, fuck that. And But Aaron know how we dressed back then. Cats weren't dressing hood. And let me tell you where that Hill Figure Nautica thing came from. The Hill Figure Nautica thing came from because in the late 80s into the 90s, the cats wearing Croker sacks and Jerry curls were the gang members. Like, gang members were easily identifiable. When you see NWA, that's how gang members dress. Again, oh, you got kicked out of, I forgot you did get kicked out of Pally, Aaron. And Chris ended up graduating from Pally. But what was happening here, what we always got to remember is, not so much now, but we got to go back to when we ran hip hop, when we set the trends. The rappers always dressed like the street dudes. Rappers never set trends. Rappers never set trends. Rappers dressed like the cats on the streets. The street is what the rapper is where set the trends are set. The rappers were dressing like the fly guys on the streets or the gangsters on the streets. That's how it happened. And when NWA brought the Jerry curls and the Lokes, that's how the gangsters was dressing. The gangsters didn't dress like NWA. NWA dressed like the gangsters. Okay? But by the time you get, the gangsters back then was wearing Dickies and corduroys, and if you still had a Jerry curl in 93, you was a killer. Regular civilians cut their Jerry curls in like 90, 91. Because in 91 it went to the flat top. But the full-blown Jerry curls, the regular civilians cut those in 89. You had to have a flat top Jerry curl, flat top S curl by 91. If you still had a Jerry curl in 93, or cornrows, that's another thing, cornrows. Cornrows and Jerry curls was killer hair. And I don't mean killer as far as looking good. Them niggas, if niggas had cornrows in 93, they probably would shoot you. That's how gangsters dress. You didn't wear cornrows if you were not a gangster at that time. You didn't wear braids, none of that shit. Only if you was a gangster. And so what happened was, 93, Pete Wilson, Governor Pete Wilson, changing these laws in California. We were at the forefront of a lot of these laws that eventually went nationwide. You got the 3 strikes law that came to California first before it went to the rest of y'all. And then you had the gang injunction laws that came to California first before they went to the rest of y'all. So by 91, 92, one person in the hood commit a crime, everybody that's in the hood go to jail for it. That's why we, like us LA niggas, be laughing at y'all when we get somebody from the South saying, y'all don't know about racism, you're in California. Shut the fuck up, doofus. We got a form of racism here that put every nigga in jail and gets spread around the rest of the country is so goddamn effective. So those gang injunction laws made niggas start wearing Hill Figure and Nautica. So 94, 99, from 93 to 94, cats switched up. Dockers, baby. Dockers, button downs. Because those injunction laws were no motherfucking joke. And when black folks switched up how we dressed, that became a thing. And then you get to 97, 98, 99, 99, that's when you get the white t-shirt. Why did, that's right, Aaron. Why did the white t-shirt become a big thing? In the 2000s, the white t-shirt was a thing. Let me tell you why the white t-shirt thing became a thing here in LA. Because cats that went to Westchester like me, let me pull a map out. Y'all like when I go to the map anyway. And again, I can only speak for my city, and your city had different stuff going on, or may have had some of the same stuff. I don't know. But we speak Black American culture here. So here we go with the map. I went to Westchester High. This is where the white t-shirt thing came in. This is Westchester High. All white neighborhood, okay? You got a bunch of black kids going to a high school in an all white neighborhood. Westchester was 90%, like this school when I went there, it was like 95% black. Trevor Ariza, Amir Johnson, and about 30 other niggas that went to the NBA came through Westchester High School. A 96% black school in a 98% white neighborhood. I got the super chat. Appreciate the super chat, Russell Red. Respect. Appreciate going down memory lane. Dress code back then. You from Texas, but dress code did come from the streets. Even Run DMC dressed like street cats. The crack epidemic brought a bunch of Jerry Curl to Texas, H-Town. Yeah, the crack epidemic did bring Jerry Curls. But Funky Town, Fort Worth, why do you niggas still wear Jerry Curls? I'm just playing. Salute to Jay Jimerson and Funky Town. But goddamn, I remember being in Fort Worth like in 2010 and I was still seeing Jerry Curls. I was like, God damn. But this neighborhood is, and we used to have like, this is a very Klan heavy white supremacist neighborhood. Okay. Well, anyway, I didn't catch the bus. I waited for my mommy to pick me up. You know, I waited for my mommy to pick me up. I didn't catch it. I caught the bus sometimes. I only caught the bus on short days. On the days you got out of school at 12:30, those be the days I catch the bus. So you either got on the bus right there, or you walk down here to the corner of Manchester and Lincoln, and you get on the bus at this corner right here. And this is the Santa Monica bus. We walk down here to the bus. Westchester Park, this is where I used to hoop. You get on the bus, you walk down here, get on the bus, all right? Nothing but white folks around you. That's where you changed. You either left your heel figure and polo in your locker, or you put it in your backpack. This was your last stop right here. And the reason why we walked down to the bus stop here was because you can get on the RTD or the MTA. They were $1.15, $1.75 with transfer, or you can get on the Santa Monica bus right here, and they were only 40 cents, including the transfer. The Santa Monica bus. So we walked down to here to get on the Santa Monica bus because it was half the price to include the transfer. And we'd only catch that bus down to, you're either gonna catch the Santa Monica bus down to Sepulveda, and this is where you get on the 42, and the 42 would take you black into the black neighborhood. And we lived up here there, like I lived up here in View Park at that time. So it took you right here. And so for the niggas that had, that was sitting in the black neighborhood, but not all the way in the hood, who lived up over here, up in Windsor Hills. A lot of us at Westchester lived up here, all black neighborhood. And so for those of us who lived up here, we didn't necessarily have to change clothes. So the white t-shirt thing didn't come really, that wasn't for the niggas who lived up in Ladera. That wasn't really for the ones who lived up in Ladera. Hell, this is my wife's house. This is where my wife grew up. She grew up on this street right here. Man, they changed in front of her house. But anyway, this is like the house my wife grew up in right here. And Gerald Busby, the president of Motown, he lived in this house right here. That was who if you ever watched it, it'd be the movie with the what you call it, in the New Edition movie, Gerald Busby. During the time they filmed the New Edition movie, he lived in this house right here. Black folks, Ken Norton Jr., the boxer, lived in this house. And so on and so forth. So we ain't the ones that carried the white t-shirts. The white t-shirts was for the niggas who had to get on the bus right there and then keep going down Manchester into Inglewood. This is who the white t-shirts was for. Because if they still wore their polo, and their Hilfiger, they had to go past Inglewood High. Right here in downtown Inglewood. And what would happen on a bus stop right about here? The bus stop. Them niggas would have to, if they still had their Hilfiger on, if they still had their Jordans on, the Inglewood High niggas would come on to the back of the bus and steal niggas Jordans, steal niggas Hilfigers, steal niggas Polo. So if you didn't want 15 niggas from the Inglewood families jumping you, either there or if you got off right here, all this shit going through gentrification right now. But the La Brea bus used to be right here. It wasn't no bus circle back then. The La Brea bus was right here on Market Street in Manchester. And I remember one time I was on this bus because before I moved to Viewport, we stayed off Crenshaw and Rodeo back when I was near Erin. And I remember being right here on this bus stop. And I was standing next to a nigga. And there was somebody on the bus that was like, hey, yo, blood. What's up, blood? And he had his hands down and he was getting off the bus. But he sent it to the nigga next to me. And so I started walking over to the side like, what the fuck going on with me? I just started doing this. And slowly but surely I got away. Man, that nigga got off the bus and was like, what's up, blood? And dude was like, I don't bang. He was like, nigga, you from Fort Trade. We started to boom. And knocked that nigga out right there next to me. And I was like, damn. I was like in the 8th grade when that happened. But it was real right here. And if you was dressed nice, they was gonna fuck you up. So you had to put on a white tee. And you got your white tees where? Right here at the Inglewood swap meet. This is where you got your pro clubs. You can get 4 pro clubs for $20. So you would stop here and you would get your pro clubs. And every time you caught the bus and you had to get off here, you would dress appropriately. Because if you was wearing Hilfiger, you was going to get fucked up. And this just the beginning of the hood. Back then, man, the further down Manchester you went, the worse it got. Nigga, don't get to Western. Ew. Manchester and Western, nigga, I still don't go to Manchester and Western. I don't do shit on this corner. I don't go to that Ralph's. I don't go to that gas station. I don't go to this gas station. Although I will say, I do got to go over here pretty soon because, quick little commercial, this spot right here, nigga, I got to go here. Well, they don't have it right here, but right here, where this thing is right here, there's a seafood spot right there, and you can get crab. They be having like bags, 5-pound bags of crab for like $60. Snow crab. And yeah, but it's still real over here. I still don't go over there outside of that. You dig what I'm saying? But that's where the whole t-shirt thing came from. To give y'all, that's a long-winded version of me giving you some LA history and some trending history. Some of our trends came out of response to trauma. The button-down heel figure came out of response to trauma that we had to deal with from the police. And then the white t-shirt came out of trauma we had to deal with from niggas. Both were trauma responses. You did? The heel figure was a trauma response to the Jerry curls and corduroys and Kroger sack wearing gangsters. And the white t-shirts was so the niggas wouldn't steal our heel figure and shit like that. You dig what I'm saying? But no different than the Harlem Renaissance. It was just 100 years ago. It wasn't just a Harlem Renaissance. We got to look back at the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. That we always say Harlem Renaissance. The Harlem Renaissance really just gets the biggest attention. One, because New York gets a lot of attention, and that's cool. But that's where like the biggest jazz, the most well documented jazz scene. I won't say the biggest because Kansas City rivaled New York as far as the bigness of jazz at that time. Kansas City was on an equal playing field, probably ahead of New York. So was Chicago. But you know the images go far and a lot further and wider for Harlem. But we got to understand that between the 20s and 40s, there was a nationwide Black Renaissance. Cincinnati had a Renaissance. Detroit had a Renaissance. Chicago had a Renaissance. LA. All throughout the country between the 1920s and the 1940s was a Renaissance. And this was a response to us moving to the big cities and saying, you know what? We're not just farmers anymore. We're not just slaves. Slaves didn't call themselves slaves. They called themselves farmers. Sharecroppers didn't call themselves sharecroppers. That's what white folks labeled them. They called themselves farmers. When I would talk to my grandfather about what he did when he was in Grace, Mississippi, he didn't call himself a sharecropper. He said we were farmers. Okay? We saw ourselves as farmers, not slaves, not sharecroppers. But these cats moved from the South to the North, and they were saying we're a new type of Negro. This wasn't their parents, it was the youth. The Renaissance was a youth movement. It's always a youth movement. And in our society, one thing that we have culturally is this thing of trying to not be our parents. That's a cultural thing, for better or for worse. Sometimes it's for worse, sometimes it's for better. But your generation did it. My generation did it. My generation wasn't trying to be in bell bottoms like our parents. We wasn't trying to say, hey, Jack, what it is, Slim. My name is Willie Green. On the scene, I can't be too mean. Dig it? We weren't trying to talk like that. We weren't trying to dress like them niggas. We had hip hop. We wasn't trying. I remember when I was young, my dad would always play Smokey Robinson. And I remember when I was like 10, I was like, dang, Daddy, you always playing this old stuff. I want to hear some Belle Biv DeVoe. So, just culturally, Whatever our parents were into, we not into. We're always trying to separate ourselves. And like I said, for better or for worse. And so when cats moved to the city, they were thinking, I'm leaving all that behind. Because you also got to remember this. The parents also had a lot of negative things to say because of their trauma. I look at my grandfather. My grandfather, when he talked, my grandfather would always say, I'll never go back to Mississippi. My grandfather's experience in Mississippi was seeing his uncle get trampled on by horses for speaking back to a white person. So although, yeah, his other uncle owned the store, and although we had independence and autonomy, as a human being, we have something called a negativity bias. And that's just human. No matter what race you are, you're more likely to remember the negative experiences than you are the positive, because the negative experience is a danger that could possibly lead to death. So my grandfather would always tell my dad, my dad had no interest in going back to Mississippi, because my grandfather didn't have nothing positive to say about Mississippi because of his experience. He moved out here when he was 13 with his mom. You got to realize, man, that generation that was down there, man, they went through some shit. Even my grandfather, my grandparents, like for me, my grandmother used to always say, don't rent out shit to niggas. My grandparents owned apartments and they had restaurants. And my grandmama had got screwed over by, we didn't have the best perception of ourselves as black folks. My grandmother be like, man, I'll never rent to a nigga again. My grandmama would say that. It made my dad not want to get apartments. We own shit now, but I remember my dad being real hesitant to own shit because of my grandmama's experience. We got some for real PTSD. You're right. Post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? Dr. Joy DeGruy. We got some for real trauma, y'all. For real trauma. And what's kept us ahead of things is we tend to stay positive. We tend to laugh at shit. We tend just to be on to the next thing. And that's what keeps us from being totally depressed, down and out. A lot of it's trauma response. Every generation of black people are born into some bullshit that the next generation is trying to figure out how to solve. We're in a system that we don't run and control that is totally against our nature. So we're always trying to fight for the next thing. So I want us to keep that. But we also got to remember what worked and didn't work in the past. Yeah, natural immunity, we laugh to keep from spazzing out. For real, for real. We laugh to keep from wigging the fuck out. And so in the 20s and 30s, we went to the North and we became a new black. The WEB, I said WEB. I'm over here sounding like Roland Martin. I was sounding like Roland Martin. Shit. Hold on. I said a WB to beat. W.B. Du Bois. Did I say it right that time? I said W.B. to beat. W.E.B. Du Bois brought in the new Negro, sophisticated, no longer tied to working with our hands. We're now of the mind, talented. And that mindset was cool, other than you thinking that you're better or separate. But you also got to understand that the North and the South have always had this fight. This didn't start with the Renaissance period of the North. Again, Philadelphia had a Renaissance. Anywhere black people moved to had a Renaissance. We had one here, a major one here in LA, along Broadway and along Central Ave. We all had this Renaissance. But we got to understand the North and the South have that fight goes back hundreds of years. They very rarely talk to us about the free black presence in the North, in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is where gospel music started. The gospel hymn book, I should say, not gospel music, the gospel hymn book. The first black church in America comes from Philadelphia, First AME. And when you go back and study the history of Morris Brown in the early 1800s, the gospel hymn book that started in Philadelphia got passed around to Cincinnati, to Detroit, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Chicago. There were free black settlements in St. Louis. It was very popular in the North. And it purposely, they sing like this. They had the hymn book, and it was very stiff. And the reason why I say that is because they purposely didn't incorporate the soul of the South. The Negroes in the North, and I'm talking about 1820, when they were doing parlor music, they looked down on the Southern soul. We're of the North. And a lot of that also goes back into tribal differences that precede the United States of America. There was always a schism between the North and the South, going way back then. So when folks, you take on the identity of where you are at the end of the day, folks. So when folks started going to the North, a lot of them started taking on the identity of the North being better than the South. What am I saying? The reason why I'm saying this quarter zip movement has to be taken into context, because I don't want us going around thinking that the way we dress means a motherfucking thing as to how we're perceived. It don't make us better than nobody, than other black folks. It don't make us more presentable to non-black people. They're going to still think what they think about your black ass. And you still gonna be an ain't shit cornball if you don't change your mind, your perception of yourself, and your reality around you in your mind, in your perception. If this don't change, if how you look at yourself don't change, then you just a nigga in some in a quarter top zip up. But it don't mean nothing. Change comes from within. How you dress does give you temporary advantages in perception. It gives you a temporary boost in how you view your task at hand. That's temporary. The only way to sustain it is to sustain the impression in your mind and perception in your mind of how you both view yourself and those around you. All right? And don't trip too much. Of course they gonna steal. Anything that we got going on, they gonna steal. It's just up to us to keep out the fact of on our creations, and we create the perception. And if they do it, they gonna whatever we do, that's how other people gonna do. Let's just keep focusing on creating and supporting our youth. Our youth support, do something. I support them, man. The under 30 crowd, them cats in they 18, 20, 17. Man, 8. Let's love and support our youth. That's the one thing we can change that the other generations didn't get right. Every other previous generation shitted on the youth when they would do some other stuff. Let us be the generation that don't shit on the youth. Let us be the generation that supports the youth, and we guide them and cultivate them and just give them, some historical context, some parameters, some perspective. But after we give them parameters and perspective, let's back the fuck up and let them be great. And instead of criticizing them for giving stuff away, if it mean that much to you, then nigga, how about we adults, those of us over 40, we be the ones that create businesses that can keep our youth innovation in-house. I'm not gonna complain about other people capitalizing on it. We have to capitalize on our own youth and keep the money in-house. Get them paid and we get paid. But that don't happen because it be y'all. I'll listen to a video and not to throw shots. This is not me throwing shots at all. So don't none of you cornball ass niggas take it that way or clip this shit up in that way. I'll stick my foot up your ass if you do. But I remember I was listening to a video from the great brother Professor Black Truth, and he was talking about the shoe store over in on Fairfax that trends, and they were talking about all the black youth that in LA, the black people in LA are stuck on these shoes. And I was like, no, black people kind of do a little bit of everything. That's really the Asians and the whites and the Latinos. When you go to Flight Club LA, it don't be black people in line. And a lot of the black people who are in line, a lot of times, like I know some black, they're going to buy 5 or 6 pairs so they can sell them. It's a lot of black youth that be flipping them Jordans. But when it comes to this Jordan thing, people always want to have some negative perception. Look at the black folks in the Jordans, the black people, and look at us. We can't get along because of our Jordans this and Jordan that, and look at the black people in Jordans. Well, nigga, how about you open up a Jordan shop? We created them. I mean, we created the trend. That means other people gonna like it. Instead of black folks jumping on black people, saying, "Oh, look at judging other black people for how we dress and what we're into." Why don't we be the ones that create a fucking shop so we can be the ones that get the goddamn money? Right, Brian, you can get paid just waiting in line. And I saw a lot of youth getting paid to wait and spend the night. And then you got black folks, look at those black kids over there spending the night for some shoes. Yeah, and 2/3 of them are flipping them motherfucking shoes. It's a business that these youth created. See, me, I don't want to open up a shoe shop. I'm in my lane. But you don't ever see me being critical of Asians and other people opening up shops, because that's not I don't criticize them. I don't criticize the youth for this stuff, because I'm not in position to be the one that can go on the other side and capitalize it. So if I'm not in position to capitalize and create an environment for black folks to keep our shit in the house, I'm not gonna sit here and bitch and moan about somebody else who is. I just be like, I see it. I would rather we keep it in house, but I'm not in position to keep it in house. But I know that if we as a people stop being so goddamn critical of our youth and be more opportunistic and open with our youth, we can see the trends that they making, and we can be the ones creating the shops and creating the places that they can come and buy from. But we're not there too often time because we're too busy bitching, moaning, and crying about what they got going on instead of putting ourselves in position to where they ain't got to go to them folks. You said them Japanese folks was punching each other. Yeah, man, all them races be fighting over materialistic shit. And I just hate when I get black folks going around saying we the only ones. We the only ones. No, we have good and bad. We have high and low. All that shit exists. But unless you in position to goddamn capitalize on it, what the fuck you so critical for? What the youth could be critical. The reason why the youth don't listen to your monkey ass is because you haven't built anything for them, an ecosystem for them to operate in and not have to go deal with these white supremacists. We got to work together, black youth and adults. All right? We got to work together. You dig? That being said, thank y'all again for listening. Go join the Patreon and all that good shit. All right? Y'all have a good one. We out.